There
Hi.
you go. Hello, good evening.
Hey, hello, Justine. As we ano no, as we asked Karina earlier, how has training been? Because no, from face to face, biglang ito nga, you're training online.
Yes, it did take some adjustment to begin with because I didn't know how long the lockdown was going to be. And of course, I'm quite a visual learner, so I like to see things when I'm learning, and I like everything to be physically with a person. But then when I had to adjust, I'm really happy that, technology is on our side because I'm more in control of my schedule and how I'm going to go about with my day. So that's the side that I kind of enjoyed. And at first I tried to do everything all at once because I didn't know when Binibini was gonna resume. That was when it got longer. I tried to stack back a little bit just so that I can focus more on my mental health. And my team naman was very understanding as well. So as much as possible, we would try to do everything online. So we would do makeup training. Things like pasarela would be a little bit more challenging, but it didn't stop us from training as well outdoors. And of course, there's Google as well for Q&A, and those things, small things do add up in a day. And as much as possible, I do try to take a break from training and do things that I enjoy as well. Para naman hindi ako mapraning. And that's definitely what I learned during the lockdown as well. So far, training has been good, and I try to stay on top of things, but most of the time naman, my team is behind me, supporting me.
Mm-hmm.
Parang may kwang si Justine, no, partner. Justine, did you, ano yan, dito ka ba lumaki sa Pilipinas? Or did you lived abroad? Nahirapan mag-English.
I was born here in the Philippines. So both my parents are Filipino. Pero when I was about 6 years old, my parents decided to migrate to Vancouver because, of course, they wanted to have more opportunities for us and make us study there as well. So my siblings and I, there's 4 of us. Luckily, naman, my parents brought us abroad with them. And I grew up there, but every now and then we would go back to the Philippines to visit family because actually most of my family is here. And when we went to Canada, it was just us and a few family friends. So a little bit different when you're celebrating with them, but I do enjoy the time that my family gets to travel back home and enjoy the Philippines, discovering it more.
Yeah. And partner, and actually we're very fortunate. Justine, later on, we will be able to ask her something that's close to her heart because growing up in Canada is actually related to her advocacy. But later on, Justine, I want to know, aside from the training, what has been keeping you busy? Parang I'm sure it's not just all training that's keeping you occupied. How do you divert yourself from training? How do you rest, or how do you relax from all the training that you do?
I've learned a lot of things through this pandemic, actually. And one of them is learning how to meditate and journal as well. Because, before the pandemic, we were always on the go and we didn't really have time for these small activities like reading, journaling, let alone in the morning. I'm not really a morning person, so as much as possible, I sleep, get up, and go to work. But because we have so much time now, I learned to keep up a routine. So I've learned to meditate through friends and then having more time to do yoga, work out, reading books that I haven't got into when I was busy. And I've also started a home service medical company with 2 of my closest friends because of this pandemic. And that's something that we did venture in just a couple months ago. So it's something that's very challenging at first, but now it's been picking up. And it's also something very close to my heart because medical aesthetics is something that I studied and pursued, and it's incorporated in that company that we started as well.
All right. Okay.
Justine, going back to your training, do you have any focus area that you're putting more hours into?
Actually, I try to allot certain time for each aspect of my training. So let's say every day I'll focus on pasarela or Q&A. Like I'll just send videos of myself walking sa hallway, and then I'll do that for an hour kasi diba pasarela, it's muscle memory. And then of course for Q&A, I always try to stay on top of current events because every day something new happens. And as beauty queens, we have to be aware. We have to be responsible with what we're sharing on social media. So as much as possible, I try to do that. But I think the biggest aspect right now that I'm focusing on is still public speaking and my communication skills, because there are times when I do feel overwhelmed and it's hard for me to articulate my thoughts. But the more practice you get, especially now, in front of camera for the final question, you never know what's going to happen. So I'm just trying to train myself to calm my thoughts and know how I'm going to do it.
Okay. Justine, under which camp Connected Train?
I actually started off independent because when I decided to get back into Binibining again, I'm not sure if you knew, but I did join Binibining in 2015 and I was with ACES. And then 5 years after, I decided to rejoin again, which is last year. And I wanted to be independent because I was super grateful for the skills that I have been taught with ACES, but I kind of wanted to venture out independently to see what I could do on my own and the team that I create with. And then along the way, Tito Raj has been helping me with my passerella.
Yeah, because I just wanted to ask, kasi kumbaga parang, since you're just training, your training is mostly online, how often do you connect with your team? Diba, for your training?
I talk to them every single day. They're my core group talaga. I see them more as a team. I see them as a family. And as much as possible, I really want to check on them, how they're doing. Like the things we talk about are not just, what are my looks? When is our next photo shoot? It's more like, how are you guys coping? What's keeping you guys busy? Just let you know, if you guys want to talk to anyone, we're all here. Because of course, at the end of the day, they do help me achieve the goal that I'm trying to do now. And I've considered them family for a very long time. So I talk to them every single day.
All right. And actually, Justine, you mentioned this already, that you did join Binibining Pilipinas 5 years ago, to be exact, right? Around 2015, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I'm sure there's a lot of changes that you've observed 5 years after joining Binibining Pilipinas. So for you, now joining this batch, how would you describe the competition now? How would you describe it? Has it gotten tough, fiercer, challenging? What can you say about pageantry now?
The first time I joined, actually, it was my very first local pageant. So I stepped into it not knowing what to expect. And the only reason why I really wanted to pursue joining Binibining Pilipinas is because I watched the Golden Batch and I was just so inspired by how young and confident these women were and how they're using the platform. And I've always been surrounded by strong women and I wanted to become that person, And I know that there's a lot that you can develop by training to be a beauty queen. And that's kind of how I taught my mindset, is to become better and to become that woman, the empowered woman that I wanted to be. So when I joined, I took it kind of on an everyday basis. I didn't know how to walk. I was a model, so I knew how to go in front of camera and walk, but it's different because when you're modeling, you're selling clothes, you're selling the product. But as a beauty queen, you're selling yourself. So I had to learn how to be more vulnerable, to show my personality. And thank goodness for beauty camps, because they really did teach me everything I needed to learn. And at that time, it was a bit overwhelming though, because I was competing with some of the best candidates. So I was training with Pia Wurtzbach, who at that time won Miss Universe Philippines, and then went on winning the whole title. Christy McGarry, Kylie Versosa. So they're obviously more exposed and they're very experienced in pageants. I learned a lot from them, but I knew that it was going to be a tough competition. So when I placed top 10 at that time, I was kind of shocked and also very, very happy that from my first pageant, I was able to achieve that. And now, of course, I've been more mature, given that 5 years. I took a break to finish my studies, be more mature, have more experiences in my back pocket, meet more people along the way. And then I knew I was ready because, of course, there is an age limit with Binibining Pilipinas or beauty pageants. And last year, I knew that I was more confident and I was ready to get back into it.
All right. And then, partner, before I asked Justine another question, Francesca is actually watching us right now. So she's saying to both Justine and Karina to have fun.
Hi,
and I think, so yeah.
So doing well.
Yeah. So I think for those who are still asking, Francesca's not feeling well. She's supposed to have been one of our guests tonight with Justine and Karina, but she did promise that she will be guesting in one of our future episodes.
Get well soon.
Yes, get well soon. Now, Justine, another question I wanted to ask. You actually mentioned also that you are in the beauty and skin in the skin clinic industry, right?
Yeah.
I just want to know. I just want to ask you because the pandemic has changed everything now. So how has the pandemic changed the needs of the clients as well? Given that there's a lot of limited
Mm-mm.
contacts,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of having those facials or even the usual non-invasive procedures.
Mm-hmm. It was hard at first, it was an adjustment because here in the Philippines, the beauty industry is always thriving, whether for self-pampering or medical needs. When the pandemic did happen, of course, it was considered a non-essential. So a lot of the places were closed down, and a lot of the people working in the industry had to adjust how they were going to make a living, how they were going to continue this until everything was better. But I think the biggest difference right now is that because we have so much time at home, people are more invested in how they take care of themselves, not just
Correct.
physically, but their inner beauty as well. So how they're going to do self-affirmations, their mental health, that all comes around together as well. So I know a lot of friends who have never been into skincare who are now asking me, what are the steps that I can do to take care of my skin, given that we're always, let's say, wearing a mask. And then on top of that, the heat, And when you see these differences in your face, of course, it's going to affect your mental health. It's going to affect how you see yourself, but you have to work on it on an everyday basis. It's not an overnight thing. So I think being in the beauty and skin industry, I really learned to consult people still online, which is something exciting for me because it actually started off as a passion. I don't see it as work. And as much as possible, when people try to come to me for help, I am more than happy to give them advice. But first and foremost, of course, you have to work on the inside as well. It's a lifestyle for sure.
Yun ang magandang naidulot din ng pandemic, no, partner? I mean, there was...